Most preppers are building their loadouts based on what looks good on the internet. Soldiers build their loadouts based on what keeps them alive when everything goes wrong. Those are two completely different lists. Right now, somewhere in America, a prepper with $40,000 worth of gear in his basement could not survive 72 hours in the field because he bought the wrong guns. This is the list that fixes that. 12 firearms, not chosen by keyboard commandos, chosen by the men who actually went downrange and came home. Number 12, the Ruger 1022. Before anyone in the comments says a 22 long rifle has no place on a serious survival list, understand something. The men dismissing the 22 have never had to feed a family of 4 for 3 weeks on what they could take from the woods around them. The Ruger 1022 has been in continuous production since 1964. Over 8 million have been built. It is the most produced rifle in American history. And while it has never been an issued military rifle in the traditional sense, it has an extraordinary history in military-adjacent applications. Special operations units have used suppressed 22 platforms for training, for small animal procurement on survival missions, and for exactly the kind of quiet, low-signature work that nobody writes press releases about. Here is the tactical reality that most people miss. In a long-term grid-down scenario, the man who can put protein on the table quietly every single day is more valuable to his group than the man with the most expensive battle rifle. The 1022 with subsonic ammunition produces less sound than a car door closing. You can carry 1,000 rounds in a day pack and barely feel it. No other rifle on this list can make that claim. A new 1022 runs about $350. 1,000 rounds of bulk, 22 long rifle costs around $80. There is no other platform on this entire list that delivers this level of capability for under $500 total. Buy it. Stock it deep. Do not apologize for it. Number 11, the Mossberg 590A1. The Mossberg 500 is a great shotgun. The 590A1 is the shotgun the United States military actually adopted. There is a difference, and that difference matters enormously for a prepper loadout. The 590A1 passed MILS 34872 testing, a military specification that requires a shotgun to survive drop tests, mud tests, salt spray tests, and sustained fire evaluations that most civilian shotguns would not survive in the first round of testing. Every branch of the United States military carries it. Marines have run it through Iraq and Afghanistan. It has been in active service since the 1990s, and there is not a single serious military evaluator who has ever recommended replacing it. The tactical differences over the standard 500 are not cosmetic. The 590A1 has a heavier barrel, a metal trigger guard instead of plastic, and a magazine tube that accepts 8 rounds instead of 6. That is 8 rounds of double-aught buckshot. At close range, inside your home, inside your property line, there is nothing on this list that ends a problem faster. A new Mossberg 590A1 runs about $650. That is the price of a shotgun the United States military trusted enough to put in the hands of every branch of its armed forces. If it is good enough for a Marine clearing a building in Fallujah, it is good enough for your property in a grid-down scenario. This is the close quarters anchor of your entire loadout. Number 10, the Glock 19 Gen 5. There is a reason the Glock 19 is the most carried concealed handgun on the planet. And that reason has nothing to do with marketing. It has everything to do with the fact that federal air marshals, FBI agents, Navy SEAL units, and the majority of plainclothes military operators worldwide have evaluated every other option available and kept coming back to this one. The Gen 5 updated the 19 with a flared magwell, an ambidextrous slide stop, a match-grade barrel, and the removal of the finger grooves that some shooters never liked. None of those changes are dramatic. That is precisely the point. Glock did not need to reinvent the 19, they needed to refine it. And they did. For a prepper, the 19 sits in a category that no other pistol on this list occupies. It is the gun you carry every minute you are awake and moving, not staged by the bed, not locked in the safe, on your hip, in a quality holster, loaded and accessible from the moment you lace your boots to the moment you take them off. In a real breakdown scenario, the threat that finds you will not find you at your staged rifle. It will find you in the driveway, in the garden, 50 yards from your best long gun. The Glock 19 is the gun that bridges that gap. A new Gen 5 runs around $550. Buy two, one for primary carry and one for backup redundancy. When parts, magazines, and holsters interchange between your primary and your spare, that is not paranoia. That is exactly how military units think about sidearm procurement. Be consistent, standardize everything. Number 9, the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield Plus. Here's the gun most preppers never think about until the moment they desperately need it. The backup carry gun. The one that rides in the ankle holster, the glove box, or the pocket of whoever in your household draws the short straw for the supply run. The M&P Shield Plus is the pistol that Smith & Wesson built specifically for the person who needs maximum capability and minimum footprint. 13 rounds of 9mm in a frame narrow enough to disappear in a front pocket. The trigger on the Shield Plus is the best factory trigger Smith & Wesson has ever shipped on a carry gun. Not the best with qualifications, the best, period. Here is why this matters for your household loadout. Not everyone in your group is going to carry a full-size pistol comfortably every day. Your wife may not want to. Your adult daughter may not be able to. The Shield Plus is the gun that removes every excuse. It is light enough to forget you are wearing it and capable enough that forgetting you are wearing it is not a problem. Law enforcement agencies across the country have adopted it as a backup sidearm for exactly that reason. A new Shield Plus runs around $500. In a serious preparedness loadout, every adult in your household has a primary and a backup. The Glock 19 handles the primary role. The Shield Plus handles the backup. That is how the military thinks about it, and that is how your household should think about it too. Number 8, the Remington 700 in .308. The Remington 700 is the foundation of the United States Marine Corps M40 sniper rifle. It is the foundation of the United States Army M24. It has been in continuous military service since 1966. The civilian variant is mechanically identical to the military version. When you buy a Remington 700 in .308 Winchester, you are buying a sniper rifle. The only difference between yours and the one a Marine carried in Helmand Province is the stock and the optic. In .308 Winchester, the 700 is effective on man-sized targets beyond 800 yards in trained hands. 800 yards is nearly half a mile. That means a threat at the tree line of your property, a vehicle approaching your driveway, a problem developing at a distance before it becomes a problem up close, is something you can address before it ever reaches you. That changes the entire strategic calculus of property defense. .308 Winchester is also the most common military rifle cartridge in the Western world. NATO standard, American hunting standard. If ammunition supplies ever tighten, .308 will be available longer than almost anything else on this list, with the exception of 9mm and 12 gauge. That is not a coincidence. That is decades of military logistics infrastructure that does not disappear overnight. Add a quality vortex or loopholed optic for $300 to $400, and your total investment is around $1,200. For that price, you own a precision rifle with a documented military pedigree that extends back over 50 years. Every serious household loadout needs one long-distance solution. This is it. Number 7, the Henry Big Boy in .357 Magnum. This is the gun that solves a problem most preppers do not even know they have until the moment it costs them. And by then it is too late to fix. If you carry a .357 Magnum revolver, and you should, and we will get to why in a moment, every single round of ammunition you purchase can be fired from this rifle. One ammunition supply, two firearms, that is force multiplication at the household level. And it is the kind of supply chain thinking that military logisticians obsess over for very good reason. From a 16-inch barrel, the .357 Magnum cartridge picks up velocity that transforms a pistol round into a legitimate 200-yard rifle round. The Henry lever action requires no batteries, no optics, no rails. There are no polymer components to crack in extreme cold, no gas systems to foul in extreme heat. Lever actions have been working in American hands since 1860, and the Henry Big Boy is the finest expression of that platform available today at any price point. There is a strategic dimension to this rifle that the tactical community almost never discusses. It does not look like a fighting rifle. In a scenario where long guns are drawing attention, where black rifles are getting people flagged, searched, or worse, the lever action is invisible. It is a hunting rifle. It is a ranch rifle. And it will feed your family and defend your property without advertising either capability to anyone who does not already know what they're looking at. A new Henry Big Boy in .357 runs around $1,000. That is not cheap. It is worth every dollar. Number 6. The Sig Sauer P320. In 2017, the United States Army ended a competition that drew entries from every major firearms manufacturer in the world and handed Sig Sauer a contract worth $580 million. The modular handgun system competition had been running for years. Every major defense contractor threw their best design at it. Glock competed, Beretta competed, Smith & Wesson competed. When the dust settled, the P320 was the pistol the United States Army chose to replace the M9 Beretta that had served since 1985. That decision was not made by internet commenters. It was made by the United States Army after the most rigorous handgun evaluation in American military history. Extreme temperature testing, mud and sand immersion, drop safety evaluations from every conceivable angle, round count endurance testing that would destroy most civilian carry guns before it even reached the halfway point. The P320 passed everything. Then it was issued to United States soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines across every branch of service. The military designation is the M17 and M18 for a prepper. The argument for the P320 is straightforward. Parts availability for the most widely issued United States military sidearm in current service will outlast the parts availability of almost every other pistol on this list. In a true long-term scenario, that matters more than most people want to admit. A new P320 runs around $600. It is the current issued sidearm of the United States military. That alone makes it a serious consideration for any preparedness loadout. Number 5, the FN SCAR 17S. Here is where this list gets serious. Here is where we stop talking about foundational capability and start talking about the rifle that Special Operations Forces chose when they were given the authority to choose for themselves. That distinction is everything. The SCAR 17S is the civilian version of the FN SCAR H, the heavy variant of the Special Operations Forces Combat Assault Rifle. It was developed by FN Herstal at the direct request of United States Special Operations Command, not the regular Army, not standard infantry procurement, Special Operations Command, the men who get to say what they want and have the operational experience to know exactly why they want it. The SCAR 17 fires the 762 NATO cartridge, the same round as the M14 and the M240 machine gun. It does it from a platform that weighs less than 8 pounds empty, folds for transport, and runs with a reliability record across multiple combat deployments that has made it the reference standard for semi-automatic battle rifles in the special operations community. At $2,500 to $3,000 new, the SCAR 17 is the most expensive rifle on this list. It is also the one with the most direct special operations lineage of anything a civilian can legally purchase. If the budget allows one premium battle rifle, this is the one operators who have carried it in combat keep recommending. Not because it is the flashiest option, because it is the one that came home with them. Number 4. The Mossberg 500 and Remington 870 combination. Every military unit that has ever deployed understands one concept that the prepper community almost universally ignores. Redundancy is not excess. Redundancy is survival. And nowhere in a preparedness loadout does the redundancy principle apply more powerfully than in the shotgun category. Here's the strategy. The Mossberg 590A1 we covered at number 11 is your primary defensive shotgun. Hard use, military spec, built to be run hard in the worst conditions. But a $400 Mossberg 500 or a comparable pre-1987 Remington 870 Wingmaster is your secondary. The one in the truck, the one in the barn, the one you hand to the neighbor who shows up at your door in the middle of a crisis with nothing. Combat units have always understood that you do not run one of any critical system. You run two. You stage them differently, you feed them with the same ammunition because 12 gauge is 12 gauge whether it comes out of a military specification tube or a field grade pump gun. The capability floor on a $400 Mossberg 500 with double-aught buckshot is not meaningfully different from the capability floor on a $1,200 semi-automatic shotgun inside 30 yards. 2 shotguns in your loadout means 2 close-quarter solutions. It means a backup when the primary malfunctions under stress. It means something to arm a household member who has never trained extensively. Buy both. Stage them separately. Never apologize for the redundancy. Number 3. The AK platform in 7.62x39. The AK has been carried by more soldiers, guerrilla fighters, freedom fighters, and conscript armies than any other rifle in human history. Over 100 million have been manufactured. The 7.62x39 cartridge is the most produced rifle cartridge on Earth. Over 15 billion rounds have been manufactured worldwide. In any scenario involving global supply disruption, the cartridge most likely to remain available is not 5.56. It is 7.62x39. The AK runs on the world's ammunition supply, and that is a strategic advantage that no amount of platform preference can argue away. The AK also does something the AR platform genuinely struggles with. It runs filthy. It runs wet. It runs after being buried in sand and retrieved without cleaning. The loose tolerances that make the AK marginally less accurate than the AR at distance are the exact same tolerances that make it functional when every other rifle has failed. In a scenario where daily maintenance is not guaranteed, where cleaning supplies run out, where the rifle has to go 3 weeks without attention, the AK keeps shooting. For the prepper loadout, the recommendation is a quality Zastava Z-Pape M70 or a comparable American-built variant at the quality tier, not the budget imports, not the parts kit builds of uncertain heritage. A rifle you can stake your life on. That standard runs about $1,000 to $1,200. Magazines are $15. A case of 7.62x39 ammunition runs around $350, under $1,500 all in for a battle-proven platform with a global ammunition supply that outlasts every other cartridge on this list. That is the backup that becomes the primary when everything else stops working. Number 2, the Springfield M1A in 308. The M14 battle rifle entered United States military service in 1959. It served through Vietnam. It served through every conflict since in designated marksman and sniper roles. M14 variants are still in active service in the United States Army and Marine Corps right now in 2026 as squad-designated marksman rifles. That is 67 years of continuous military service. No other rifle on this list can make that claim. The Springfield M1A is the civilian version of that rifle. 20-round magazine, full power 308 Winchester cartridge, semi-automatic action, effective range out to 600 yards on man-sized targets without optics. With a quality scope, 800 yards is realistic for a trained shooter. That is the same performance envelope as the Remington 700 bolt gun, but delivered through a semi-automatic platform with 20 rounds available between reloads. Here is the tactical role that no other gun on this list fills. The M1A is the rifle that bridges the gap between the AR-15 at 200 to 300 yards and the bolt gun at 500 to 800 yards. Inside 400 yards, nothing on this list is more effective in a trained shooter's hands. The 308 Winchester cartridge also defeats body armor that stops 5.56. It defeats vehicle glass. It defeats most light cover that an AR-15 round will not penetrate. A standard Springfield M1A runs around $2,000 new. That is real money. It is worth every dollar for the role it fills in a serious loadout. The wood-stocked variant looks like a hunting rifle to anyone who does not know what they are looking at. In a scenario where discretion matters, that is not a cosmetic detail. That is a tactical advantage. Number 1. The AR-15. Mil-spec quality tier. Bravo Company, Daniel Defense, or equivalent. I know what some of you are thinking right now. The AR has been number 1 on every list for 30 years. It is the obvious choice. It is the safe choice. It is the answer everyone already knows. And that thinking is exactly why it needs to be number 1 on this list. Because when you cut through every opinion, every platform debate, every caliber argument, and every piece of internet controversy that has ever surrounded this rifle, you arrive at the same place every time. The men who have used every rifle on Earth in real combat come home and stage an AR-15. Not the safe, not the basement, within arm's reach. The 5.56 NATO cartridge has been the standard rifle round of the United States military since 1963. The AR platform has been in service for over 60 years. Every part is interchangeable. Every accessory fits. Every optic, light, sling, and magazine ever made for this platform still works on the rifle you buy today. There is no other rifle on Earth with that level of parts availability and modularity. In a long-term scenario where supply chains have broken down and components matter, that is not a trivial advantage. That is potentially a life-saving one. The AR is also the most accurate semi-automatic rifle in this entire loadout. With a 16-inch barrel and a basic red dot optic, an average shooter holds 2-inch groups at 100 yards after one afternoon of practice. With a magnified optic, 4-inch groups at 300 yards are realistic for most people. That is precision rifle performance from a fighting platform that an untrained family member can learn in a weekend. Here is what the AR-15 actually gives you that nothing else on this list does. The combination of accuracy, modularity, weight, capacity, and recoil management in a single package that costs under $2,000. A loaded AR with 30 rounds weighs under 8 pounds. A trained shooter empties that magazine into a man-sized target at 100 yards in under 10 seconds. No bolt action on this list matches that. No AK matches it. No battle rifle matches it. Every special operations veteran I have spoken to keeps an AR-15 within arm's reach in their home. Not a SCAR, not an M1A, not an AK, the AR. Because in the moment that actually matters, the moment at 2 in the morning when everything has gone wrong and you have 3 seconds to make a decision, the rifle you reach for is the one that works every single time without asking anything of you. A quality mil-spec AR-15 from Bravo Company or Daniel Defense runs $1,500 to $2,000. Magazines are $15. A case of 5.56 1,000 rounds runs around $400, under $3,000 all in. The most refined fighting rifle in American history, the one that has come home with the men who came home. That is the loadout, 12 firearms that soldiers actually use, actually carry, and actually keep staged when the uniform comes off and the real world begins. The Ruger 1022, the Mossberg 590A1, the Glock 19 Gen 5, the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield Plus, the Remington 700, the Henry Big Boy, the Sig Sauer P320, the FN Scar 17S, the Shotgun Redundancy Strategy, the AK and 762x39, the Springfield M1A, and the AR-15, not 20, not 50, 12. If you already own most of these, you are ahead of 95% of the people calling themselves preppers right now. If you own 3 or 4, start filling the gaps this month. Not next year, this month. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 12 are already in your safe? Drop the numbers in the comments. And if a soldier or veteran in the comments thinks I missed something, tell me what it is and why. I read every single one. If this list helped you think differently about your loadout, hit subscribe. Next week, I am breaking down the only 7 calibers worth stockpiling in a true long-term survival scenario, and the 3 cartridges most preppers are wasting serious money on right now. Stay ready, stay sharp, and never let someone who has never been downrange tell you how to build your loadout.